Hey there, welcome back to another episode of That's Wizard. My name's James. This is my good buddy and co-host, Ronan.
Every week you get nicer and nicer, James. I don't know what you're trying to get out of me, but...
I'm just trying to use you.
Use me for my editing skills and my body, okay.
And yeah, like I was just saying, we haven't been doing the podcast for a good 2 weeks now, maybe a week?
We missed a week.
Missed a week. Ah, well, that's
You missed a week.
I missed it. Wait, did you do an episode without me?
Yeah, you weren't there, so I uploaded it on my own.
Oh, yeah.
The listeners know all about it because they listen to me just sit in my room, do the news on my own.
Just editing Ronan, just listening to it.
That said, the audio quality would have been so much better if I just sat in the room on my own. Because I don't know, like I can put cloth, like curtains up and things, and it just deadens all the sounds.
And we wouldn't be outside listening to the rustle of leaves.
Yeah, I'm going to apologise for that right at the start. Normally I put like a apology right at the start as editing Ronan to say there's like an audio quality issue. This week, if there is, it's because we're parked outside and there's a bush by us. But if there isn't, that's because my superior editing skills I've managed to isolate and bring it down. I very much doubt I can do that.
Superior intellect is coming in clutch there.
I wouldn't call it intellect.
It's
an ability to use all that.
Why don't we jump straight into it? So we'll go over our famous Muse section and then the review. Today,
what are we reviewing today, James?
Yeah, so the review of the film we've watched is Top Gun Maverick.
It was an ad. We watched an 2.5 hour advert for the US military.
You make it sound like that's a bad thing. Maybe we're in support of the military in America.
I mean, I'm not in support of the coup that the US military presented in the Top Gun Maverick film that we just watched, where they bomb an air base in... What was the country they bombed
They didn't
in?
specify.
They don't.
That was a very brilliant
It was
way.
an unspecified country that they bombed.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Maybe we should stop talking so
Do you
political.
reckon maybe it was... Because there was a lot of snow in that last scene.
There was a lot of snow.
We probably shouldn't speculate on what country the US military bombed in Top Gun 2.
Based on real life.
We will talk about Top Gun after the Muse, but we'll start with the Muse.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you did most of the Muse today. Normally I do, but why don't you lay on me or the news?
We've actually got 2 weeks worth of news today. We don't normally do this section.
There better not be any more Doctor Who in there. I'm sure the fan is fed up of all the Doctor Who.
I don't think there is.
That is a first, to be fair.
We either have Doctor Who or Fast X news every week. So what do you think we've got today?
Well, I remember earlier we have Star Wars and a lot of...
There's so much Star Wars. Last week was Star Wars Celebration. There is maybe 2 or 3 pages of Star Wars news here, which James is going to get very bored of before I finish talking about, I can tell. But we're going to start with Fast X news.
Of course.
Because there's always a Fast X casting.
There's always Fast X news.
Fast X gets a grandma.
They already have it. Jason Statham's mum in it.
It's taken Dominic Toretto 10 movies to realise he also has a grandma.
Ah.
Played by Rita Morenzo as Dom's grandmother.
Who's that? Can I see?
I don't know who that is, but I can find a picture of...
Is it going to be relevant to the story at all, do you reckon? Do you reckon Dominic Toretto comes from a long line of car thieves?
I mean, they were car racers in the last one, weren't they? Weren't they NASCAR racers? Puerto Rican actress Rita Morenzo, sorry. I can tell you she was in the original West Side Story. That's cool.
Okay.
The original Singing in the Rain. That's cool. The original King and I. That's cool.
Well, that's the thing as well.
I didn't know this. This is cool.
Do you reckon? That's it.
She's in the Rockford Files. Have you seen the Rockford Files?
No, and I don't care.
Oh, James, you'd love the Rockford Files.
I highly doubt it.
It's a detective show from the 70s. My dad
I
loved
doubt
the
I'd
Rockford Files.
like it. Anyway, moving on. So, what are the music?
I know, I'm just looking what Rita Morenzo was in. She was in some great stuff. The Toast of New Orleans, that's a great musical from the 50s.
Not going to appeal to me.
Okay, this whole episode is just me going to go through Rita Morenzo's...
I keep thinking it's Rita Ora.
Rita Ora was in Fast and Furious 6.
Is she actually?
Yeah, she was the girl that starts the race in London.
Oh yeah, she was already, yeah. Well, come on then. What's the next piece of news?
The next bit of news, I think, James, we might start making Flash news. A weekly segment as well, like Fast and Furious or Doctor Who, because I've got more Flash news. Apparently, well, this is a week ago now, this news, but apparently the Flash movie starring Ezra Miller has something like 45 screenwriters working on it.
What, how?
45.
How do you have 45?
I think from inception to currently, they're on their 45th screenwriter.
You know what's going to be like a pain for these guys is that if the film succeeds, who's going to have the most credit? But if it flops, nobody's going to want credit for it.
I don't. The fact there's 45 means no one wants credit for it already. I think. I don't know. The rule for directors is they have to have directed a percentage of the film.
Most of it.
But I think the writers, they have to have written
70%.
It's something like it's quite a lot.
I remember Pete talking about it. If the script supervisor goes over it and makes a lot of changes to it, maybe about
They have to
50%,
get credited.
they get credited for it then. Even if the writer makes the inception of it, then the screen supervisor who watches over the work that the writer does, he then gets credit for it, or she. What else is the Flash news, or is that it, the 45 writers?
I mean, there's always a little bit of Flash news. They were talking about recasting and having Dylan O'Brien.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't they want to do that. That was
why
fan
not?
casting, I think. But
Oh, Dylan O'Brien's great.
I do like Dylan O'Brien.
He's great in Love and Monsters.
That episode of Doctor Who where the Absorbaloff... That's episode's called Love and Monsters.
Really?
Yeah, the Absorbaloff. Peter Kay's the Absorbaloff. Sorry,
No,
we're not
I was
supposed to be doing
talking
Doctor
about
Who.
Love and-
I know what you're talking about, but it's got the same name as an
It's the
episode
same.
of Doctor Who from 15 years ago.
That's fantastic. I never knew that.
Actually, we're going to keep on DC. Actually, we've got 2 more bits of DC news, which is rare for us because we normally talk a lot of Marvel on this show. DC, I don't know what you're aware of in terms of the acquisition, but Discovery, as in the Discovery Channel, have just bought Warner Brothers.
Oh, they actually.
Which, I think you'd think it would be the other way
I thought
around,
it would
right?
be around. I didn't realise they had that much
Yeah,
capital.
They've just bought them, so they own DC now, Discovery Channel,
Okay.
and they've gone in and they're shaking things up.
How so?
So we haven't reported on this show because it was a long time ago, but J.J. Abrams was working on a Superman film, and J.J. Abrams has kind of gone into DC and said, I want to use this character, and this character, and he said no one else can use these. And apparently the executives have gone in and said, well, he's laid claim to all of these characters but not actually using any of them, so we might just
Use them.
take it ourselves and use some of them. There's a bit of a shake-up, and I don't know how long J.J. Abrams is going to stay on this Superman film.
J.J. Abrams did Star Trek. He's
And he
quite
did
good.
the Star
He
Wars,
did Star Wars as well.
of which we have lots of news in a minute, so hold off on the Star Wars
all
stuff.
right.
But J.J. Abrams was going to recast Superman. He was going to get rid of Henry Cavill.
Oh, that's a shame.
And the people that are at Discovery are really keen to keep Henry Cavill.
It's because he's great.
And he's a big star, bigger than he was 10 years ago, and they've not made a Superman film in 11 years.
The latest one was just Batman vs Superman.
Yeah, but the last proper Superman one was
Man of Steel.
Man of Steel, and that's 2011, right?
Mm,
Something like
2012.
that. And then, obviously, he was in Snyder Cut 2 years ago, something like that.
Yeah,
But that
Justice
that
League.
was filmed in 2017.
And it was also not the Snyder Cut, but the original was so bad.
I love the Snyder Cut.
I haven't seen the
4
Snyder Cut.
hours.
4 hours. I don't plan on watching it.
I didn't plan on watching the Snyder Cut in 1 4-hour sitting. When it came around to it, James, I sat there for 4 hours and I enjoyed it for 4 hours. So
Fair. Maybe I'll just put it in the background as I play some games.
honestly, I love. Zack Snyder's one of those directors where I can't say that I love any of his films, but I think I love him as a person, and I think I really enjoy. I don't think he's a good director, but I think I enjoy everything he does.
Yeah, that's how I feel about Michael Bay. He's not a good director. He's not even a good person. No offense. But his films I can just watch because it's really easy. Like the Transformers.
What do you know about Michael Bay that I don't?
He's not a very good person.
He shouts at people, I think.
Yeah, apparently he's like a.
But
Megan
he likes
Fox.
animals.
Megan Fox said he was like Hitler on, and I quote.
Yeah, and that's why Megan Fox was kicked off because Spielberg didn't take very kindly to. Because Spielberg doesn't like Hitler.
Yes.
we can't keep that in. We'll keep that in. That's a silly joke. There was a little bit of news this week that Kevin Feige considered, who was the head of Marvel, sorry, who about 10 years ago he considered jumping ship from Marvel and going to work at DC because he didn't want to work with Ike Perlmutter anymore.
I don't know who that is.
Have you not seen the image of Ike Perlmutter?
No.
For the listener watching, just Google the picture of Ike Perlmutter with Donald Trump. It is the scariest picture you'll ever see.
Oh, really? Show me now.
They look like Bond villains.
Oh,
How
wow,
scary is that
they
picture?
really do. That's insane.
And Ike Perlmutter said and did some very bad things.
Well, if you're friends with Donald Trump, you know.
You know when they recast War Machine, it was Terrence Howard,
yeah,
and
he
then
was
it
the
became
original.
Don Cheadle. Ike Perlmutter is on record saying that they could do that change because they're both black men and no one would notice.
Oh my god.
That's the type of person Ike Perlmutter
Yeah.
is. And you can see why Kevin Feige might want to jump ship
Yeah.
at some point. But Ike Perlmutter left about 10, 15 years ago now, something like that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. They should probably worm those type of people out of Hollywood. They don't seem like
They're gonna last very long.
very pleasant people to work
They
with.
don't.
And if you're not a pleasant person to work with, James, people don't want to work with
No,
you.
it's true. It's true. So before we move on to the Star Wars news, just wanted to say we did have to move our car.
Our car.
Our car.
Is that communism? It's both of our car now, is it?
Your car. Our car. Because we just parked that in the sun and it was absolutely boiling.
My t-shirt is currently dripping with sweat. So.
And I can smell it and it's awful.
And you had to keep stepping out. So.
I did. It was absolutely awful. Maybe we should get a studio. Your studio.
Well, I keep saying you should have come over mine.
Oh yeah.
Your next week the plan is for you to.
Yeah, if petrol, petrol being so high, it's like, oh, do I drive down there?
But he expects me to drive down here every week to see you. So
I think it's only fair.
I think James needs to get his priorities sorted and see what's important to him. Yeah. There was anger in my voice then. I didn't mean to.
And that's why I love it. Oh, I do love that.
See, the best comedy has a layer of truth to it. And the truth was that you need to get your fucking priorities sorted.
And there's our one F.
There's our one F. Should we move on to the Star Wars news?
We should move on to the Star Wars.
So much Star Wars news.
We'll have to rip through it. Right, lay it on me. Quick fire round.
It was Star Wars Celebration last week. We got trailers, sneak peeks, discussions on racism among Star Wars fans, some casting. We'll talk about the first 3 eps of Kenobi. It actually says on the notes here the first 2 eps of Kenobi, but there's been one subsequently that you haven't seen yet. Along with so much more. So, James, where do you want to start?
Let's start with the Kenobi one, because that's the bit of news that I can actually be relevant in.
The episodes.
The episode. I really enjoyed it. I love... The only thing in the first 2 episodes, I was wanting more Hayden Christensen.
Don't you worry about the 3rd episode, mate.
Oh, okay, alright. I'll watch it when I get home. But yeah, I love the 2 episodes. Obi-Wan Kenobi, or should I say Ewan McGregor, is fantastic.
I thought in that first episode, at the very least, that he was struggling to get the accent right. And in the second 2 episodes, episode 2 and 3, he had the accent down. But the first 2, it kind of kept changing. I don't know if that was just me that noticed that. You definitely didn't, because I asked you about it. But
I thought it was good. Oh well, I also want to. Okay, I'll lead on to the next one. Seeing as, what did you think overall about the episodes? Then
I really enjoyed them, man. I mean, the first 2, not the most recent one. The most recent one feels like it was filmed on location, but the first 2, when they're in that city, it did feel very much like a set, and that feels very confined.
Okay. We was gonna say leeway onto
the racism.
The racism. I was gonna say Ewan McGregor released a video saying what great for the Star Wars community that it was the most watched opening of a
I think
Disney
it was the most watched first episode or something.
And yeah, that's fantastic. It's absolutely brilliant. But then it leads on to another story about how his co-host,
Moses Ingram, who is the Inquisitor that is hunting him down.
She's a woman of colour, and a lot of people are absolutely ripping into her because of her colour.
And what did Lucasfilm say to her before she even took the role?
Before
James?
she even took the role, I remember you saying to me that they're racist people and they will rip into her.
Lucasfilm warned her specifically that Star Wars fans can be very, very racist.
That's the thing, though. Ewan McGregor sends up nicely saying, if you're racist and you treat people like that, you're no Star Wars fan.
And then some Star Wars fans got really upset about that because they thought they should be allowed to be racist and Star Wars fans at the same time.
You can't do that, I'm afraid.
You can't be both.
You can't be both. It's like what I told
you. There can only be one.
It's like what I told you when I saw that TikTok about the being lazy or having a small dick. If you're going to go to the gym, tell yourself that. You can either be lazy or have a small dick. You can't have both.
And yet, somehow, you've proven that wrong.
I've proven that right. Go on.
You're not lazy at all.
I am not lazy at all.
Sticking with Ewan McGregor, actually, there was a little story. I think he was talking on some panel about Obi-Wan, and he said that every single line in the prequel trilogy had to be re-recorded because the noise of the cameras, because they were in such new technology, the noise of the cameras got picked up by all of the sound on set.
Oh, really?
So they had to re-record the whole movie.
I guess they made a lot of new innovations. I mean, Lucasfilm, they made that studio completely for making Star Wars and how it was all made with practical effects.
Anyway, we're going to fire through some of these because there is a lot of stuff. So there were panels for literally everything Star Wars over the last 2 weeks. So we're going to start with Andor. Do you know what Andor is? They're doing 2 seasons of a show called Star Wars Andor, both with 12 episodes each. And they're going to take place just before Rogue One, about 5 years before Rogue One.
Okay, because Andor...
he dies at the end.
I was going to say he dies at the end. He's kissing the other main character.
Jyn Erso.
Yeah.
How do I know that?
Because you're a nerd.
Oh my god, I hate myself.
I hate you too.
We'll jump straight onto there's Mando season 3 panel. The news is that there was a trailer shown at Star Wars Celebration, but we didn't see that trailer. Release date of February 2023, which is a long way away. Katie Sackhoff's returning. Giancarlo Esposito is returning, and there's a quote from Giancarlo Esposito saying about Baby Yoda, "I will squash that little green bastard." I thought you'd enjoy that.
That's very funny one, to be fair.
Jumping straight onto the John Watts series, which is called Skeleton Crew, which I think is an animated thing. I'm not 100% on that, but it has a star, which is Jude Law.
Oh, I like
They
Jude
haven't
Law.
said who Jude Law is going to be playing. There's a little bit of... on the grapevine, the word is that Jude Law's playing Thrawn. But you know Thrawn?
No.
Thrawn's like a Grand Inquisitor, but he's like the next level above. Blueface, he's in Rebels.
No, was he in Rebels?
Yeah, he disappears with Ezra at the end of Rebels.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of Rebels, actually, we'll jump a couple ahead and talk about Ahsoka, because the clip from Ahsoka that they spoke about...
They're making a TV show of that.
They're making a TV show of Ahsoka, but the clip that they showed was a live-action, shot-for-shot remake of the final scene from Rebels, where Sabine is against the wall and there's a mural of everyone, and they go off to go and find Ezra and Thrawn, who have disappeared into the universe.
Oh, okay. Do you reckon they're gonna...
I don't know what the Ahsoka series is, but that was the clip they showed from it.
Is it gonna be? It is gonna be a live-action Ahsoka series.
Yeah.
I
It's,
like the actress who played it in
Rosario
Mandalorian.
Dawson.
Yeah, she was quite good, to be fair. I quite liked her.
And there's basically everyone confirmed for it is all of the characters from Rebels. So they've cast who's playing Sabine, which is Natasha Liu Bordizzo.
Okay.
I'm not going to be saying that right at all. They've cast who's playing Ezra Bridger. I don't know that they've confirmed casting for Thrawn, but also both Hera and Chopper, who are main characters in Rebels, are also in this clip that they showed, but there's no face for who's playing Hera.
Okay.
It's like the back of the head, so there's no casting for that yet.
Brilliant. No, that's good news. Then I do like that.
Tales of the Jedi, do you know what this is?
No.
Considering all this news was a week ago,
Oh,
James,
yeah.
you're...
A bit slow on the mark.
A little bit, yeah.
I'm a bit busy.
Tales from the Jedi is an anthology series. It's an animated series coming in fall 2022, autumn 2022, so that's only a few months away. There's going to be 6 episodes. 3 of them are focused on Count Dooku, 3 of them are focused on Ahsoka.
And
it's
it's basically
basically
live action as well.
No, these are animated.
Oh, okay.
And it's like 3 key events in their life. So Ahsoka is going to be how she came to the Jedi Order and things like that.
Oh, okay. I thought you see that in just Star Wars Clone Wars.
I think it's just going to go into like detail. So James, do you remember when Star Wars used to make movies?
Yes.
Do you? It seems a long time ago, and everything we've spoken about here is a TV show.
Well, I mean, the last movie didn't go down very well, did it?
Rise of Skywalker.
No.
Didn't like that one.
No, I mean, I didn't mind it, but I mean, with the fans,
I
though.
didn't like that
Oh,
one.
you didn't like that one?
And Solo was before that.
Yeah, I
and
watched
Last
it.
Jedi.
I remember that. I mean, like, it was good, but I remember it being... It's quite forgettable, Solo was.
They should have done the Lord and Miller version, shouldn't they? But the reason I ask you, James, is because they've confirmed what the next Star Wars movie is going to be.
Oh, yes, please.
It's the Taika Waititi directed Star Wars movie, which he hasn't started production on, and is unlikely to come out for another 2 or 3 years.
Do you know what it's going to be about?
No idea.
Oh.
There's no information on that. They've just confirmed that the Taika Waititi
What
one
you're
is the next
telling
one.
me is that Taika Waititi
There you go.
is directing the next Star Wars and we know nothing of it.
Well, there is a Patty Jenkins one that's been in the works for quite a while, but apparently that's not until after the Taika Waititi one. But we know a little bit about that. I can't think what it is off the top of my head.
Is it going to be another trilogy? I hope so. I hope they keep this rhythm going.
For the people listening, I did a big shrug then.
like they're going to be
As
able
I
to see
did it, I thought that's probably not great for an audio medium, is it? There was a trailer for Bad Batch Series 2. Do you care about that?
I never actually watched it, but I heard some good things about
It's a
it.
good show. That's basically all I've got to say about Bad Batch. I don't know if you got anything more.
No.
There is a trailer. I think it's good. James hasn't seen it. That's all we've got to say about that.
That's literally quite a lot of what our conversations go like.
A little bit,
You've
yeah.
watched it, I haven't. I don't care for it. I've watched it, you haven't.
Do you remember they were talking about doing a Lando series with Donald Glover?
Oh, yeah.
Basically, the story is here that that's probably not going to happen now
No, I could have said that.
because he's too busy.
Yeah, or he's in Atlanta.
Atlanta's a good show. He writes and directs.
He
and-
does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Not as good as him being Troy in Community, but...
Well, he left Community, didn't he?
No,
Halfway
he's-
through season 4 or something.
No?
He sailed off with LeVar Burton on the ship. Doesn't he get given loads of money by Chevy Chase's character?
I think so, yes.
So whenever Chevy Chase leaves, he leaves a couple of episodes later.
Yeah.
Because there's the episode where they read Chevy Chase's will and they give everyone stuff, and then he gives Troy everything.
Yeah, and then like he gives Jeff like an insult or something.
Yeah, something like that.
He's like,
That's
no,
a good episode.
It's a good episode. But one of my
I think he
favourite
leaves all the women his sperm.
Yeah. Either way, maybe we should move on because we just really sidetracked.
Sidetrack. We've only got a couple more bits of Star Wars news actually, because I am skipping over everything. If you actually want to know Star Wars Celebration news properly, this probably isn't the best place to come. But we are skipping over it. There is a trailer for Star Wars Jedi Survivor. You know what that is?
Do I?
Do you?
No.
No? Do you know what Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is?
The film. The game.
Third try.
Third try.
It is the sequel to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. There was a trailer for that.
Oh, nice.
Did you watch it?
No, because I'm not a nerd.
Honestly,
No,
it looks
good?
great. It's one of my favourite games, Star Wars Jedi Fallen. Although I say that, played an hour of it not last night, a couple of nights ago. I spent an hour getting from one side of the map to the other.
It's that big.
And I didn't die all the way, and then I get there, and then some big creature traps me in a corner, hits me twice and kills me, and it respawns me where I started an hour ago. I got very angry playing Fallen Order the other night. I haven't been that angry in a long time, but an hour of my life.
A walk in one place. Is there no fast travel?
No, that's the worst thing about this game. This game, the sequel needs fast travel back to the ship. But I was like, and it's all like a labyrinth, and I get lost, and you have to come back, and the map's not very good. And I got there, and then I was just trapped in a corner. It just went whack, 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 and then I was dead. After an hour, and there were puzzles and things I had to do to get there.
Oh, I actually hate games with puzzles. They're just so much effort. I never do them. I just Google it. Honestly, cannot be bothered with them. They take away from the fun for me. They take me out of the escapism.
I think, James, I mean, that's obviously not all of the Star Wars news. I am skipping over bits. But that's all the Star Wars news I care about.
Yeah, well, we could just skip over. Tell me what else has been important in the news.
Actually, I can mention, like, it was Star Wars Celebration, but basically just a Lucasfilm event. So there's actually some more stuff that isn't Star Wars news that came out of Star Wars Celebration. There was a poster for Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is in the poster. Looks the same, just older.
Is it?
It's a
Harrison
silhouette,
Ford?
yeah. There isn't really much to say about the Indiana Jones poster. And there was a trailer for Willow. Do you know Willow?
As in Buffy the Vampire Willow?
No, not as in Buffy the Vampire, as in Warwick Davis Willow.
Oh, yeah.
The film
this, the
from
Disney.
the 80s.
Yes, I know what it is.
Is one of my favourites. I love Willow so much. Someone we'll be talking about later on in this show is in Willow. Val Kilmer is the star, but not in this series.
Oh, okay.
Partly because of something we'll be talking about later in the Top Gun review. Yeah, I like Willow. There's a trailer for Willow. They filmed it in Dragon Studios, which is just outside Bridgend.
Oh, we've been there.
All of Willow. I've never been to Dragon Studios, but I kept meeting. I've met loads of people that are like, "Oh, I did a week on Willow." I was like, "Why couldn't I get offered a week on Willow?" Because they were paid well as well. And I know the guy that did the food for Willow, and he was doing specific food for Ron Howard and Warwick Davis and things.
They have a set diet. Oh, fair.
But I've never been to Dragon Studios.
We should go there.
It's supposed to be really nice.
We'll go there for a cute
swanky. There's a few more trailers. Do you care about trailers? There was the Thor trailer that we didn't really talk about last time.
Yeah, I quite like that. I watched the Thor trailer.
I like you get to see some Hemsworth butt.
You also get to see Gord the Butcher.
He looks great, doesn't he?
He does. I've read the comics.
Have you?
It's going to be interesting.
Have you, or have you just watched a YouTube video?
I've watched
on
the
comics?
YouTube video.
Be honest, don't lie to people, James.
You're right. Sorry. There's a guy called Comic Historian. To be fair, he's quite good. He reads out all the comics for you and saves me the hassle of having to buy them. I'm not giving my money
Don't lie
to
the listener, James.
I'm not giving my money
Don't
to Big
insult
Marvel.
the listener like that.
I'm insulting them. Fuck you.
Yeah, there was some Russell Crowe in it. It was a good
Fat
trailer.
Zeus.
And I think there'll be another trailer soon, actually, because that film, because it was the shortest time between the first trailer and the film coming out in Marvel history, I think, because it came out at the end of Doctor Strange, just after Doctor Strange, so it was only 2 months or something. The film's nearly out.
What other trailers are there?
Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning.
Oh, I am looking forward to this. We discussed this when we watched this in the cinema. Well, I said it looks very James Bond-esque. Like, you could put Daniel Craig in his position. I could be like, it's just James Bond.
It is very James Bond, and I think that's probably where they're going. And we'll probably talk about it a little bit later in terms of Top Gun stuff as well, because there's a lot of crossover between Top Gun and Mission Impossible. The producer of Top Gun is Chris McQuarrie, who's directing this Mission Impossible.
Oh, okay.
And there's things like that.
Look at you.
I know stuff.
You know your stuff.
Yeah, did you not see Chris McQuarrie's name? And you go, ooh, that's Chris McQuarrie.
Oh, no. Go on, lead me on to the next one.
Have you seen the trailer for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey?
No.
So Winnie the Pooh just came into public domain, so someone's made a horror movie with people dressed as Winnie the Pooh and Piglet that murder people.
That's brilliant.
As an idea, I think it's great.
As an idea, I won't be watching it because I'm too much of a.
And there was a trailer for what was the film you sent me? I haven't got this written down on the list, but you sent me a trailer for a film where they cook stuff.
Yes, Chef.
It's not called Chef. That's a
Meal.
That's a John Favreau movie.
It's like Meal or Menu.
Menu is what it's called.
It's got Ralph Fiennes in it.
It's got John Leguizamo in it.
John
I love
Leguizamo.
John Leguizamo.
And
Aaron Taylor Johnson's in it. Is it Aaron Taylor Johnson?
No, the woman. What's her name? Sorry, I forgot.
Anna Diarmas?
Yes.
Is it Anna Diarmas?
No, the person who in the Queen's Gambit.
Oh, it's got Anna Taylor-Joy in it.
Anna Taylor-Joy in it. She looks good in it.
Yeah, do you want to talk about this trailer, James?
I thought it was quite interesting. It's very much a psychological thriller. It seems interesting. I probably will watch it because it's got Ralph Fiennes and I really do like him. But essentially, what it is we believe that they're cooking people.
John Leguizamo's character is movie star. I love John Leguizamo.
Yeah.
Anything is better with John Leguizamo in it. I watched.
He's in John Wick.
He's in John Wick, and he's in John Wick 2 or 3, and his
He's in
scene got
both of them.
cut. Which is he in more? I think he's. Is he in both of 1 and 2? Then there's a scene in 3 and he got cut.
Oh,
It's a shame, isn't it? We like John Leguizamo on this
we
podcast.
do like John Leguizamo.
I watched Latin History for Morons last night,
Oh, yeah.
which was his stand-up show, and he basically just teaches you about Latin history from the last 4,000 years from the perspective of someone that isn't a white colonialist. It's really good. It's very funny as well.
Was he a comedian before?
He's a
acting?
comedian, an actor, a writer. He is so talented, and people don't talk about how
Why don't
great
you just
he is.
bloody marry him?
Honestly, I think he's so great. A couple more things. Stranger Things came out. You didn't watch it.
I don't watch Stranger Things.
I watched it. It was great. They played that Kate Bush song that I like.
Is Stranger Things really that good? I hear so
It
many
is
people
very
talking
good.
about it.
It's a very popular show.
I'm edgy with that. isn't
James is edgy and he doesn't watch anything. But he watched Chip. He's so cool that he doesn't watch Stranger Things. But he did watch Chip and Dale this week. So
I did. We can review that before we review Top Gun.
do you want to review Chip and Dale briefly?
Yeah.
You talk about Chip and Dale for a second then.
Well, Chip and Dale. It's alright.
I liked it.
I liked it, but it's nothing new. It's just two cartoons and an anime. If you
It's
ever
very
seen
Roger
I
Rabbit.
was going to say, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I got very much that vibes.
It is Cameo City as well,
It is.
right? How did they get the rights to all of those things?
The chief constable, or the police captain is
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons.
But
and he
there's
plays a
stuff
very-
in there, like it's a Disney production, so you can understand how they got all the Disney stuff that's in it, and there's a lot of Disney stuff in it. But there's also, how do they get the rights to Ugly Sonic? Do they go to Sony? Is it Sony? Probably, right? They go to Sony and they say, "Hi, can we use Sonic? But we don't want that good-looking Sonic
We want
that
the
everyone
ugly
likes.
one."
We want ugly Sonic."
Well, that's funny is that they got Fat Peter Pan as the main bad guy.
Yeah, Peter Pan. I mean, obviously they get that as, and that's strange because there's a real life thing where one of the actors that played Peter Pan in like the 30s or the 40s went on. He got old and he got fat and he stopped acting and he became like a drug dealer or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's like a true story. But there's so much in this that I'm like, how much of this did they get away with on parody? Like Ugly Sonic, maybe you don't have to pay for the right. You just go, we're making fun of Ugly Sonic, therefore we get kind of, through parody law, get to use Ugly Sonic.
I like how Ugly Sonic's in the FBI as well.
But I'm using Ugly Sonic as an example. There's so much in this that you go, and there's like,
There's a lot of hidden references as well.
and Polar Express, and then there's Mr. Doubtfire starring Meryl Streep, and there's posters for stuff, and it's just this mad Roger Rabbit type world.
That was
I don't have anything else I care about. There'll be more news. A lot of this was written last week, and I haven't really updated it, so there's definitely newer news. But
well, we'll get to that in the next week.
we're just going to be a week behind on the news, like we're always a week behind on the movie. Speaking of which, Top Gun came out last week. Do you want to talk about Top Gun?
Yeah, let's talk about Top Gun then.
Top Gun Maverick, which is the legacy sequel to the Tony Scott classic from the 80s, starring Tom Cruise. The original starring Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer has a little role in this. Jennifer Connelly's in the original. Meg Ryan's in the original, which I didn't remember, but she was definitely in the flashbacks in this. Very young Meg Ryan. I didn't know she was in that. What did you think of the movie, James?
What did I think? That's a good question.
Did you think it was an advert for the US military? Because I did.
Oh, I know you did. That's predominantly what you said when we were coming out of the cinema. It was like, that was good, but it's definitely an advert for the US military.
I
wasn't it?
feel like I want to join the army now.
Well, they were for the Navy, so you'd be joining the wrong force.
I don't know the difference.
Of course you
I'm
do.
not really into murder, so you, on the other hand, are
I'm-
bloodthirsty.
Me, I just love gunning down innocent kids.
I mean, you're joking, but
Yeah, that's what I'll be doing.
I've not seen any proof to the contrary yet.
No, but yeah, I actually couldn't avert my eyes. I really enjoyed it.
I think it was a great legacy sequel.
I thought it was good.
Most of those legacy sequels, they misunderstand what the original is about.
But that's the thing. This one felt like it was just straight over, like it was just a second one to me. You saw so many references to the first one. I had the visuals are insane.
Well, you noticed the reference to James. I don't know the original well enough to notice any of that, and I just viewed it as
its own movie.
Its own movie, and
No,
I
but
think
that's
it
the thing.
works so well.
It works as its own movie as well. And as I say, the fight scenes with the planes. There's this one where there's a couple of
Dog
scenes
fights.
where they are doing dog fights with the plane. It captured me. I was watching really intently. I couldn't avert my eyes. I had that fear for you. You know when you're just so engrossed into it, you just feel like that character as he was flying.
Do you like Tom Cruise?
Yeah, I actually don't have a problem. I know people think he's crazy with Scientology, but I honestly couldn't care less. I don't tend to judge
I'm not usually a big Tom Cruise fan. I find him a little bit unsettling in some things. My recommendation for anyone listening to this is you should watch Tom Cruise in Collateral. That's Tom Cruise's best performance.
What about in Manhattan?
Collateral. You're thinking like suave, cool Tom Cruise. In Collateral, he plays this dead-faced assassin that is hunting down Jamie Foxx. Collateral's great. This was Tom Cruise now, reliving Tom Cruise 40 years ago. And it looked like he was enjoying himself so much. But since do you remember the Katie Holmes thing when he jumped up and down on Oprah's couch?
Oh, yeah.
Since that
That
Tom
was
Cruise hasn't
edited.
kissed anyone. On film, I mean.
Really?
They did a focus group, and they said people find it unsettling to watch Tom Cruise kiss people. They don't find him believable as a male lead. And he hasn't been a male lead properly, romantically. With
Well, he
anyone
does
on
kiss her a lot.
That's what I'm saying, is this is the first time they go back to Tom Cruise as a romantic lead. And I think that's really... I was counting. He kisses her 3 times in the film, James. It's hardly a big romantic lead.
Of course you're counting. That's the one
Well,
thing
no,
you
because I
can.
find it really interesting
Yeah.
that he hasn't kissed anyone in 15, 20 years on screen.
What's that Tom Cruise film where he's like, show me the money?
Jerry Maguire.
He's good in that.
He kisses Renée Zellweger in that.
To be fair though, those interviews are edited, like obviously to make him look worse. But again, I don't really care. Yeah, I think he's a good actor. What did you think of him in this? Do you think he played the role?
I
really
think
well?
he's excellent in
I
this.
think he's really good.
I keep saying how much I don't like Tom Cruise that much, but everything I see him in, I go, he's all right, actually.
Is he alright? Maybe you do kind of like him.
He's fine, honestly. Do we not want to talk about Val Kilmer in this
Val
first?
Kilmer, the role. If you guys don't know, Val Kilmer has an illness, and he portrays that in the film as well.
I can't think what the illness is. I think it's a motory one. I think I see him in a
You
wheelchair
can
quite
see he
often.
struggles, and the voice even hurt.
But the scene is really interesting because obviously James says he struggles with the voice. So what they do in this scene is they cut between Tom Cruise, Val Kilmer, and the screen that he's typing on to ask questions or to say.
It's kind of good.
It's a really interesting scene because it's filmed as a 3-character scene, but the third character is just the screen.
computer.
I think it's filmed in a really interesting way.
It is, and one thing I have to say to that is it is quite upsetting when he does die. You can see the,
he dies later on.
Tom Cruise, I'd say, is a really good actor because you could see him cry. You can see the effect and the toll it's taken on Maverick.
And you couldn't do that as an actor because you're incapable of crying.
I am. It's because I'm a heartless bastard.
Yeah.
I just don't care about anything.
Incapable of showing any emotion.
Incapable of love.
Yeah.
God, this got deep real fast, didn't it?
To your inevitable sense of ennui and the inevitability of the encroaching endlessness of life.
There you go. And that is also the end of the.
That's weird.
Because he's just bullying me.
No, Miles Teller's in this. I'm not usually a big fan of Miles Teller, but he's also really good.
Who's the guy who plays Hangman?
I don't know him, but I recognise him as well. And his character's really interesting as well. And it was very obvious that he was going to come back
gonna
at the
save
end.
them. Because his whole story, the whole reason he's called Hangman is because he
leaves people out to dry.
Yeah, hang you out to dry.
Honestly, I didn't expect very much from a Top Gun sequel.
No, same. But honestly, the way it was shot, I honestly felt like I was as I was flying the plane. It made me feel like I wanted to become a pilot, and like it drew me in, like to be. It was high octane, should I say? The film itself is very high octane,
especially in the way it's edited in that last scene when they're going over the mountain and coming back up again. It is kind of adrenaline-inducing.
Yes,
you are totally
engrossed into it.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, that's kind of the baseline of what you want from a movie.
No,
is that
exactly.
you experience that.
There's
but
that one scene in particular where they're flying an old plane, and then the enemies having a really advanced plane, he did this really cool trick to dodge the missile.
Yeah,
It was
it's.
sort of interesting. I enjoyed the.
You enjoyed the
watching it.
film, did you, James?
Yeah, I've not told you enough. I
No,
enjoyed
you-
the film.
Yeah.
I'm going to just move on to my rating. I'm going to give this an 8.
But are you giving it an 8 because it's an 8, or are you giving it an 8 because you feel like you've been giving everything else 6s and
yeah.
7? So that's the problem with the 10 out.
That's the problem with it. I feel like nothing's been.
That's the problem with the rating system, is
Yeah.
that your rating is based on other films that
Other
you've rated,
films,
so
yeah.
it changes and things
It
like
does.
that. That's why I don't like rating
Yeah,
systems.
that's a good plan. I might change my rating system. We're going to change it on air. You know what? We'll make a new one.
Is this
especially-
episode 6? It's taken you 6
Yeah,
episodes to
making
realise
six.
you don't like the rating system.
It's called character development. I've changed. I've now.
Alright.
There you
He's
go.
grown
I've
as a
grown.
human being.
I'm going to give this 3 F-15 jets. There you go. That's my rating.
and that's going to be your rating every film going forward.
No.
You're just going to make up a new rating
I'm
every
going to
time.
make a new
I like
rating.
that. Alright. Out of how many F-15 jets? Okay. Well, 3's not very many. I thought it was better than a 3 F-15 jets out of 10.
You don't know how good it has to be to get a 4 F-15.
Okay.
No.
They're
Yeah, we'll
pretty
give it
good.
3 F-15 jets. I don't know what this is going to be in correlation to, but it's going to be. What was your rating system?
As always on this show, my rating system is: would you go out to a global pandemic to see this? And for the last week, I've been hearing people praising this movie. So people are obviously going out during a global pandemic to see this movie, and I did too, and I would again because it's great. Very long. I don't know if we mentioned how long it was. About 2.5 hours, probably.
It didn't
right?
feel like 2.5 hours. To
It
me,
didn't, but there was a lot going on.
It was.
Especially towards the end. Because when they go out on that final battle, you think, oh, it's going to end at the end of this battle. And then Tom Cruise lands, and there's a whole extra
Yeah.
sequence after that, and it keeps going a little bit at the end.
I was going to say, like, if you watch the first one, I had a few scenes that were direct copies of it, but like in a good way, with its own, not its own.
I don't know the original well enough.
So at the end of the original, obviously you see Ice and Maverick do that handshake and like where they respect you.
I'll be
That
your
happened-
wingman any day.
And then that happens with Miles Teller's character Rooster and Hangman.
Yeah, it does.
So
And they have the gay volleyball
they
scene.
do have. I was hoping it would be a bit more homoerotic, but there's a bloody woman in it.
It
spoiling
wasn't
it.
gay enough.
Yeah, it just wasn't gay enough, man.
There weren't enough shirtless men rubbing up against each other for me to enjoy this. Do you know what? I'm changing my rating. I would not go to see this movie again in the cinema. It wasn't gay enough.
And Jennifer Connelly?
Jennifer Connelly.
She's lovely, beautiful.
Have you seen that clip from Tarantino where he talks about the original Top Gun and he's like, it's the story of a man's struggle with homosexuality. And he spends all this time with the man. He fights it by seeing this woman, but he's always brought back to the man.
He is always brought back to the man. So, well, now we go on to the money bit, which is my section. So, guess what Top Gun Maverick's budget was?
Well, it doesn't really matter because it was all paid for by the US government. So whatever it has, it will have made a profit.
It's 170 million.
That's a lot of money, considering
And-
it was all given to them for free.
You're really playing on the fact that it's funded by the US
No,
government.
it maybe if it. I mean, it 100% was funded by the US government. But even if it wasn't, I can imagine that the US Army would quite happily lend them use of fighter jets and
for that.
facilities and things like that. Partly because the US Army quite likes movies like Top Gun, but also it works as a recruitment film quite well.
It does.
I want to join the US Navy.
But guess how much is box grossed right now, Caroline?
More than 150 million.
Over 390 million.
That, James, is pretty good going.
That's pretty good.
For a legacy sequel to a film people haven't seen in 40 years.
Yeah. Well then, should we go on to the next bit then? Which will be what we're watching next week.
What are we watching next week, James?
I don't know.
We're
you
watching
tell me.
Men. I'm putting my foot down and telling you we're watching Men, even if you're too scared to watch.
You can watch
Have you seen
Men.
that clip of, who is it? Rory Kinnear as the little boy in Men?
No.
It's in the trailer, and everyone in the town turns into Rory Kinnear.
Oh, yeah.
And then he turns into the little boy, and they've just CGI'd Rory Kinnear's face onto the little boy. That's the weirdest shot in the trailer. But I'm really looking forward to seeing Men, and I'm really looking forward to you being terrified of the idea of men.
I hate men.
Because it's about disgusting men, and I want you to understand what it's like for women that are surrounded by you.
Well, when is Jurassic World Dominion?
We're not watching Jurassic World Dominion when we could watch an Alex Garland A24 horror movie.
Makes no difference to me.
It makes a difference to me, and as the director, producer, star of this podcast, and editor.
And editor-in-chief.
And I put my foot down and tell you we're watching whatever I just said.
Don't worry, listeners. I'll come up with an excuse. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for listening. My name's James.
Your name's James. Yep.
Yeah, carry on. This is where you jump in now.
Yeah, his name's James. Thank you very much for listening. My name's Ronan, and...
That's Wizard.
That was my line.
Oh, sorry, that is your line.
It's fine.
It's fine now. It's done.
You stole my fucking line.